Nigeria's Senate has taken decisive action on two critical national issues: disaster response and infrastructure development, signaling urgency in both humanitarian intervention and economic growth. Lawmakers have directed the National Emergency Management Agency to immediately assess the devastating fire outbreak at the Head Bridge Market in Onitsha and provide relief materials to affected traders. The Senate also urged the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction to work with relevant agencies to establish a special intervention fund aimed at helping victims rebuild their businesses. This followed a motion of urgent public importance raised by Tony Nwoye, who drew attention to the tragic incident. The midnight inferno, which struck in the early hours of March 21st, 2026, raised the plumbing materials section of the markets located near the Ogbo Ogu medicine market, destroying goods worth millions of naira and affecting numerous traders.
It knows that the Head Bridge Building Materials Market Onitsha is one of the largest hubs for building materials in Southeast geopolitical zone, and it was engulfed by a devastating fire outbreak on the night of 20th March 2026 at about 10:30 p.m. Senate also knows that the inferno, according to eyewitness accounts, originated from the section dealing in plastic ties and high-pressure pipes before it rapidly spread to the adjoining plumbing materials section of the market. Senate further knows that the fire raged uncontrollably for over 3 days, causing unprecedented destruction before it was eventually subdued through the combined efforts of Federal Fire Service on North local government and local fire service units from Ogidi. Senate observed that the absence of functional fire service outlet and inadequate firefighting infrastructure within the market significantly contributed to the escalation and prolonged duration of incidents. Also observes that the incident led to the destruction of goods and properties valued at over 3 billion naira, including galvanized pipes, brass fittings, water pipes, and other essential building materials. Further observes that the affected traders, many of whom rely solely on the market proceeds for their livelihood, have been rendered economically vulnerable.
Supporting the motion, Abamaro and Lola Ashiru expressed deep sympathy for the victims, highlighting persistent structural challenges such as poor access roads, lack of fire safety infrastructure, and overcrowding in major markets.
Mr. President, I think that when things like this happen, it calls for sober reflection. And it calls for a proper investigation of the incidents with a view to ascertaining the causes and, of course, the consequences of such incidents. And so it is a standard practice all over the world that the Federal Fire Service is the first responder in all disaster situations. It is equally a standard practice that the responding period to contain disasters arising from fire is a minimum of 3 minutes and a maximum of 5 minutes. And that means that fire stations ordinarily should be constructed in line with these standards.
Even if there are adequate equipment and motorized equipment, when you look at the geography and the planning of Onitsha market, you will discover that it will be exceedingly difficult for fire service vehicle to successfully maneuver to the point of incident. I want to emphasize that our markets grow organically. They grow as if we are planting, we are in a bush. They are never planted. And in particular, Onitsha market is not properly planned.
The Deputy Senate President, Jibril Barrow, commended the motion and called for swift intervention to ease the suffering of affected traders.
Through the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to immediately conduct a comprehensive assessment of the damage and provide urgent relief materials and financial assistance to affected traders. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Also urge the Federal Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction in collaboration with relevant agencies to design and implement a special intervention fund to support victims in rebuilding their businesses. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Further, urge the Federal Fire Service to establish and equip a fully functional fire station within or in close proximity to the head bridge, building materials market, Onitsha. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Lawmakers emphasize that beyond emergency relief, urgent long-term safety measures are needed to prevent recurring fire disasters across markets nationwide. In a related development, the Senate has defended its approval of a $516.3 million loan for the Sokoto to Badagry superhighway project, describing it as essential to preventing delays in execution. The approval followed consideration of a report represented by Adamu Aliero on behalf of the Senate's Committee on Foreign and Local Debt Management.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I now move to present the report on the sum of $516,333,700 for the construction of Sokoto Badagry Superhighway Project, Section 1, Phase 1A and B. The Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria received communication dated Monday, the 20th of April 2026, from the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, requesting the approval and resolution of the National Assembly pursuant to Section 16 and 21 of Debt Management Bureau Establishment Act 2011 for the following: $516,333,700 to be borrowed for the construction of Sokoto Badagry Superhighway Project, Section 1, Phase 1A and B.
Lawmakers expressed optimism that the highway would significantly cut travel time between northern and southern Nigeria, boosting trade and economic activity along the corridor.
I rise to support and lend my voice to this request. Now, the presenter had alluded to all of the socio-economic activities relating to creating a network of connectivity between north and south, and also the fact that the project that we're talking about, that this is meant to be financing to, will be crisscrossing almost about 7 states. But I think that one thing that is also important that we mentioned here is that perhaps some might be thinking that there were about the borrowing that we're using to fund capital projects of this nature. One, those borrowings are very much in line with our extant rules in terms of borrowing.
Passage of this request by Mr. President. We've been telling people that Mr. President is concerned about developing this country in its entirety and is working based on the arrangement he has set out through the Renewed Hope agenda. Now, the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road is ongoing. And we've been telling people that that road is important. While the president is doing that in the southern part of the country, he's also doing a very, very important road that links the south to the northern part of the country through the Badagry Sokoto Superhighway.
Senate President Godswill Akpabio explained that the loan sourced from Deutsche Bank AG replaces an earlier financing arrangement from a Middle Eastern lender that stalled due to disruptions linked to the Iran war.
Earlier in this same chamber, we had approved a borrowing arrangement of about $5 billion to pass through the Qatar, I don't know what they call that bank. Is it Abu Dhabi? Abu Dhabi. Unfortunately, because of what is going on, the federal government has not been able to have even $1 drawdown on that loan. So it has become very urgent that the ongoing projects that the federal government is already embarking upon should not be allowed to waste. And I want to commend the President for this initiative. And if he can get more initiatives like this, we can still get to that level of 3, 4, 5 billion to do all the things that he had earlier planned to do.
In a separate development, the Senate confirmed several nominees of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, including Lamido Abubakar Yuguda, as Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Meanwhile, the President has also notified the Senate of his decision to withhold assent to the National Identity Management Commission bill, citing structural defects and other concerns. This development underscored the Senate's dual focus, responding to urgent humanitarian crises while advancing major infrastructure projects seen as vital to national economic transformation.